And welcome everyone to the Circle the Make podcast. This is the host DB's what Ivan C. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined. Finally, I have him on the show. He's been on our other brothers' shows like Rewind, Recap, Relive. He's been on Counted Out. He's been all over the world, in the podcasting world, and all over the world, professional wrestling. This man is still to this day has an astonishing career. And this man right here himself is the master of the LJN customs, because I do love him, by the way. I want to say that right now. And also, he is the warlord of weird. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Sinn Bodhi. How are you, Mr. Bodhi?
I'm good, sir. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Good. And I appreciate you for taking the time for coming on here on the show. And, I just wanted to, talk about, your career. You're still currently going. It's amazing, fantastic how your career has been developing, growing more and more as, being yourselves is Sinn Bodhi. And the last match, I wanted to ask, the last match when you were at PCW, which was back in May when you faced LA Park, that was a brutal match, by the way. I wanted to just say that. And I was there, sitting in attendance. But I wanted to get your feedback. What were your thoughts about the match? And I mean, is this the first time you ever worked with LA Park, in a match? I mean, I'm not really familiar if you ever worked with him before, besides PCW.
No, I wrestled him forever ago. I was just talking to Adam Pierce about that today. And we were talking about that, how we wrestled in a 6-man tag against LA Park and Conan. And then there was a couple of students, and we were kind of some fun reminiscing about that. And then that was forever ago. And then I've been on a ton of shows with him, but we really didn't get down in the ring. And he was actually a few years back now, that horrific incident with Cuervo de Puerto Rico, the young wrestler that was in Mexico that got hit with that cinder block, blindsided by this other asshole wrestler that I don't even say his name because he doesn't deserve to have a name. I was Cuervo's roommate in Mexico. And I was there. I was on a day off, and I was just there watching my buddies. I was watching Masada, Cuervo, and some other guys. And I went flying into the locker room to say they were carting him off. I was way up in the top end of the bleachers or whatever. And I got down there, and I was one of the guys holding his brains in his skull, literally. And I'm usually outside of the ring. I'm pretty, chill and nice, and I am a coach. So, it's my privilege to help kind of put a good, positive vibe out there to teach the guys the right way and stuff. And I'm usually the guy I'm that Mr. Mom in the locker room that's usually, getting the guys to kind of look at things positively and to work together and do all that brotherly stuff. I was so angry. I chased that guy out of the locker room, but I was just lucky for him. I was busy holding Cuervo's brains in, and it was one of the rare times where I wasn't in Mrs. Doubtfire mode. I just thought, man, I want to pull that dude's head off, legit. And I'll never forget that LA Park. So I'm getting ahead here. So we're at the hospital, and we're literally carrying Cuervo in and out of these MRI machines, different things, because the doctors are all just too little. We were all just big old wrestlers and these little EMTs and whatever. I just couldn't pick him up, And so wrestlers were carrying him around, putting him in and out of these different machines, whatever. And he wasn't waking up, I was hot. And, LA Park is Cuervo's hero. He never met LA Park. We kind of thought, you know what? Why don't we give LA Park a call, because we don't know if this kid's going to wake up. So we called him up and said, hey, look, amigo, this kid, you're his idol, and I don't know if he's waking up. So if you wouldn't mind, how's about you come on down here just in case? That might be a cool surprise for him to wake up to. And he did. He's a giant legend, and there's about 30 million people in Mexico City, and LA Park is a busy man, and he made the time to get down to that hospital, and he just waited with the rest of us outside. And now here's where I'm going to pick up back to the story. I was so livid. And again, I'm usually in that Mrs. Doubtfire mode. You ask any of the guys in the locker room, they go, oh yeah, Sinn's nice, or he's silly backstage or whatever. Like, he gets down in the ring, but backstage he's pretty together. And I'm, again, like I said, I'm usually the guy calming other guys down. and I'm usually quite level-headed. You might not know it when you see me in the ring, but I'm quite level-headed out and about.
Right.
And boy, oh boy, I was just seeing red. I wanted to pull that motherfucker's head off. And it was L.A. Park that kind of Mr. Mom to me. He said, look, amigo, hermano, don't be so angry. Let's put some positive vibes into the universe for Cuervo. He needs our good energy, not our hate right now. He needs our love, not our hate. I really, really respected L.A. Park for that. I always respected him as a wrestler and as a legend, but as a man, like man to man, that really held weight with me. And coming out of the pandemic, when I got to get down with L.A. Park in there, I kind of thought, man, plenty other dudes I'd like to get down with, and I don't want to hurt the guy that really kind of Mrs. Doubtfired me, And we tore into each other pretty good, like two red-blooded bulls would. And he was a lot of fun. Like just keeps you alive, just lets you know how dangerous the tip of the sword is. He's a dangerous man. I'm a pretty dangerous man myself. And I think all the people in California that night, they got a little taste of me and him,
Oh, yeah. We did. Definitely we did, man. And it was a brutal main event. I really enjoyed it, man. You guys really knocked it off the park. Man, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were actually there.
Knocked it out of the L.A. Park.
I love that. That's right. But man, I didn't know that about the Cuervo, man. It's insane. I still can't believe it. I mean, I've read about it, but I didn't read full details about it. But man, oh man.
I was there. I lived through the whole thing, and there was some beautiful silver linings that came out of that. Some really good friendships, and just watching all the luchadors pull together. Like, Cuervo was not a Mexican luchador. Cuervo was just another worker like me from a different country. Like, Cuervo came from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there that long. He was there for about a month. And, I've been back and forth and plenty of times, but that was one of my first times in a long time there. And they really accepted me and welcomed me in. And, in the U.S. of A. and across the world, I am the warlord of weird. But when I cross the Mexican border, I am the asesino de payaso.
That's right. I love it.
Sexy clown.
Exacto. Yep. El sexy clown. Yes.
That's right. But it was just really awesome to see all the wrestlers get together and the promoters get together, and we put on a show in Naucalpan. It's like a benefit show for him. Park showed up, Penta, Roosh, you name it. There was a shit ton of cats there. And I mean, there were so many dudes there. Matico, who is one of my amigos, that is a massive legend. I mean, California, we all know how lucha strong California is. So I don't have to explain to you guys who Mathematico is. I mean, the guys in the locker room parted like the Red Sea for him, and it was cool that there were so many luchadors that came in, and then guys that are expensive performers, they all showed up on their dime to put out for Cuervo. Man, you couldn't with a stick of butter and a giant shoehorn, you couldn't have fit another fan into that building. And that's a nice big building, big old crazy lucha arena. And man, it was just jam packed with crazy fans. And I mean, you couldn't move in the locker room. It was like a subway station in that locker room. You were literally shoulder to shoulder. It was crazy. And Park was part of that, and I was part of that. And we kind of bonded, I think, with that. So when it came time for us to get down at PCW Ultra, it was just, I think sometimes you almost hit harder when you care about each other. Right. Let's just say we really, really, really care about each other.
I know. I agree. That mutual, that respect, that feeling, of course, hit each other harder because you care for each other. But yes,
well, if you're wrestling some guy that's a bit of a prima donna and he's going to squawk and bitch and moan or whatever, you might just kind of get out of there, and that's sort of like pulling. And we, for different reasons, we would say certain matches or we're wrestling with certain guys like pulling teeth. It's just a pain in the ass. Let's just get through it, make the fans happy, and buzz off. And then there's the opposite of pulling teeth is the day off, which means we'll put out, we'll go, but it just means it's just too damn fun tearing into each other. We're slicing into each other in a way that would legit put the average bear to bed for a few weeks. It's just somehow kind of fun, And again, you guys got to see that, and hopefully you all enjoyed it. And we'll get down again soon, and I can't wait to come back to PCW and get down with some other cats, guys I know, some guys I don't know, and a mystery guy that I have no idea who it's going to be. And I'm good with that. I enjoy the surprises. So
and I'm excited for that, because October 21st, you'll be main eventing in this 4-way. Of course, Hammerstone defending the PCW Ultra Heavyweight Championship. You're part of that Fatal 4. Scav is part of that mystery opponent. I do not know who it is. And, of course, I'm not Dave Meltzer here right now, because I ain't trying to find out no spoilers. I like to be a fan and enjoy the show.
Sure, but you know what? And each to their own. I'm not going to heel on anybody who likes the dirt sheets. I'm not a dirt sheet guy. I never have been. I like to be a fan. I like to be surprised. If Edge is going to do something, or somebody that's close to me is going to do something, I'll know about it. I don't need to read the dirt sheets. I'll just get a call or a text. But otherwise, I kind of want to tune in and be surprised. I want to, so like when some of the kids that I trained, like Zoe Stark or Cepha, aka Socal, Solo Sokoa, guys like that, Chris Bay, and just watching my kids, who I am so fucking proud of, Carrie and Cross, watching them, like I'll keep a beat on them, and I watch everything. Like I'm a student of the game, and I love wrestling, so of course I'm watching everything. But when it's my kids, you got to be a proud poppy. How can you not be?
Absolutely.
But I mean, coming to PCW, diabolical as the Sheik is, he's my friend, and I've known him for a long time, and I know what kind of mind he has, and we get along really quite well because our minds are different and yet alike. Where we have different tastes and we have different ideas, but we're in that same sort of Kevin Sullivan-esque wheelhouse of seeing the playing field similar. I think we're very good for each other because he is very methodical and disciplined, where I am very wild and chaotic. But when you take both of those things together, that's some Starsky and Hutch stuff right there. That's some Luke and Bo and Luke Duke stuff right there. That's Booker Goldust, Mickey and Mallory, whatever it is, and it's good. And so when he puts his mind on putting a show together, and with his board of directors and everybody that he has to make PCW Ultra come to life, then he comes up with the Ultra World.
Yeah.
So fans listening, stay tuned for that, because that is not a steel cage. That is not a Hell in a Cell. That is not an elimination chamber. It is a giant rat trap loaded with weapons, and it's stuffed with dudes that don't mind getting down. And I know Hammerstone. He is a good guy. I like him. I helped him in his early days. I booked him on my shows on Freak Show Wrestling, and crazy enough to be on Freak Show Wrestling, you got a screw loose, and Hammerstone certainly does have a screw loose, and you kind of need that to be successful in pro wrestling. And he's a big mamma jamma, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a big boy. He is also a big boy. I'm about 250 pounds, 6'1", and he's got to be what? He's got to be pushing 280, 290. Like, he's a big cat. And then Shaft, don't get me started about what a mountain of a man he is. Now, I don't know him so well, so again, love Hammerstone, so it might be kind of fun to tear into Hammerstone, and he might have some fun tearing into me. Shaft, he's an innocent bystander, but I'm sure he's going to hang just fine, because the Sheik doesn't book pussies, to be honest. So there's that. And then whoever the mystery man is, he's got to be able to carry his weight, or else he ain't signing that waiver to get in that cage. So whoever mystery man is, whoever bachelor number 4 is, my man, I cannot wait.
Oh man, I cannot wait either. We're going to be seeing a new PCW Ultra Heavyweight Champion. We're going to be seeing that. Are we going to see Sinn Bodhi walk out with that PCW Ultra Championship belt?
You're damn fucking straight you are.
That's right. That's what I wanted to hear.
It's funny. I see indie guys bowing up when our faces are on posters together, and I just think, man, this big guy, that big guy, and they're all tough. They're all badass dudes, But I mean, like, you don't survive to grow the gray the way I have without being able to get it done. I've been in some rings with some dudes that I can't even classify them as humans. They were just so big, They make some of these 6'5" kids that are getting ornery and crotchety. They make them look like little munchkins, like they're probably part of the Lollipop Guild or something, you know. I mean, I've been in there with King Kong Bundy or the Road Warriors or Viscera, Kamala, and just the list goes on. I mean, I've been in there with monsters, and I'm still here. So,
Absolutely.
Mr. Hammerstone and Mr. Shaft and Bachelor Number 4 and other guys across the world that are, you know, feeling froggy when they see my face next to theirs on a poster. Just remember, not only was I in the ring with those monsters that make those other dudes look not so monstrous, but I survived. That's not a small thing.
Oh man, definitely. I cannot wait. I think everybody's excited. I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing you walk out with that PCW World Heavyweight Championship. Because I followed your career, you know, before, you know, being, you know, Sinn Bodhi, so of course KIZARNY when you were in WWE at the time. So I followed your career, and it's been really, honestly, been you know, amazing. You still have an incredible and amazing run still to this day. You're the godfather of the, you know, freak show wrestling, you know, and being, you know, under the tutelage of Jake, you know, and Dr. Tom, you know, and Ron Hutchinson. It just, you took all that knowledge and pass it on to these future stars, like you mentioned, like Zoe Stark, you know, like Solo Sequoia, Chris Bay. I mean, you really passed on the knowledge, and, you know, I know that you're proud of seeing, you know, their careers being fulfilled at the moment. And
I'm like Ricky Morton. I got kids all over the place.
there you go. That's Ricky Morton, all right.
He would always joke, be like, I just start naming them after different states. Oh, but I mean, the list goes on, you know, from Crazy Steve to Angelina Love and just etc. I mean, I'm so proud to be a helper, to be a carpenter in this business, be a coach, to be a brother, you know.
And you mentioned being a head coach, and you're a head coach for FSW, am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, sir.
And so how did that become about, you know, the relationship of how you becoming the head coach at FSW? How did that become about?
Well, so when I moved to Vegas, you know, forever and a day ago, I linked up with Joe DeFalco and Rocky T at FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling. And I think Joe was kicking around the idea of doing some kind of like freaky show. And then, of course, out of all the former WWE guys who moves to town, but KIZARNY, you know, speaking of which, I saw Devon the other day, and everybody calls me Sin or Nick or whatever, or Bodhi or something. And when I saw Devon, he's like, KIZARNY. This makes me giggle, you know, but I've been called worse, you know, it's cool. But so Joe and I got into bed together and started doing some shows, and he had FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling, and I had FSW Freak Show Wrestling. And then after a while, we didn't see eye to eye, and then we kind of parted ways. And then we kind of got back in bed together, and then I coached for him. And then again, we didn't see eye to eye, and I parted ways. And then me and Jake the Snake and D'Lo Brown created the Snake Pit. And Joe had, I want to say, Disco Inferno and Kenny King. And then after a while, you know, we got our act together again, and we got back in the bed together, and we all got under the same roof and figured, you know, that's a damn awesome set of coaches right there. And then you throw in Kitaro sometimes, TJP sometimes, Davari sometimes. I mean, out of all the top schools in the world, I want to say, aside from like the WWE PC, there's not a school on the planet that has that many WWE, AEW, Impact, ROH, New Japan coaches all in one, AAA, all in one spot. You know, so that's pretty darn impressive, and it gives different layers. So we're not just teaching this style or that style. Like, you're kind of getting one-stop shopping. I'm very proud to be a coach at FSW. Like, it's a great spot. And as we train kids, and there's some other kids I'm just so damn proud of, and kids that are kind of getting on the map just now, like so many greats. So you mark my words, and I believe, if I'm not wrong, looking at the schedule, Matt Vandergrift will be on PCW Ultra. And now he was an original Santino Brothers kid. And then he got his basics there, as we would say. And then he came and came to me for the polishing training. Same with Zoe Sark. Zoe Sark was trained, got her basics from Tom Howard, and then I was her polishing coach. And and you can see what Zoe Stark is capable of. You can see what Chris Bay is capable of. You can see what Karrion Kross and Crazy Steve. It just the list goes on down the line. I have to start thinking about some of these cats. You know, there's just so many of them, and I'm proud, and I'm super proud to see those guys. Sefa Fatu, aka Solo Socal and stuff, and so many great ones. But I've got some other great kids too. I don't want to offend by not plugging those kids too. But there's some really good kids that are on the rise. I want you all wrestling fans out there to watch them and enjoy them, because they are enjoyable to watch. Like your Damian Drakes and your Brett the Threats and your Nick Xanders and there's just a ton of them. There's just a lot. But Matt Vandegrift, you watch, that is the next star. That is the next, darling, whatever you want to call it, indie darling, whatever you want to say. But if I have it my way, I want to see him sports entertaining real soon.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I've been following his career by far, and it has been very impressive for me. And he's underrated. And
here's the deal. I understand a little bit about being underrated. I understand about being bright, invisible. It's the shits.
Yeah.
When you can, give so much knowledge to so many other people, and then but still you're kind of, as Al Snow used to say, he would tell me, he'd call me Sinny, just like Rip Rogers and Al would call me Sinny, Sinner or something, and be like, look, before you came along, I was the best kept secret in pro wrestling. Now you are the best kept secret in pro wrestling. And I think Vandegrift is kind of bit in that sort of mode, because he's so nice. He's not problematic in the locker room. He's not a little prima donna, a squeaky wheel gets the grease. He just loves this shit. He gets to a show and he gets it done. The promoters need him to be a good guy or whatever, this, that. He's a chameleon, Put him in there with a cruiserweight, awesome. Put him in there with a heavyweight, awesome. He's flipping and flying, awesome. He's throwing knuckle sandwiches or he's chain wrestling on the mat, awesome. Like, that kid can get it done in any way you need it to do, So, and he's just a good dude. He loves this shit. He's a good dude. Never not seen him with a smile on his face. Never seen him not saying, yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, sir. Like, he was always never, no boo-boo face, no entitled, horseshit, which I think, I love the new generation. I love wrestling, and I certainly want to see, the circle of life and pass forward to other people. But see so many guys and girls that are just entitled little weak-minded doofuses. And then he proves that other way. Like, it just shows, man, there's hope for good people and hardworking people, like, they're out there. He's one.
Oh yeah.
And if anybody's listening and they're offended by my weak-minded comment, then look in the mirror, don't look at me, motherfucker.
That's right.
Look inward, bitches.
That's right. That is right. Oh man. And I mean, what do you like taking from the knowledge of where
make sure I know where to get the link on this. I'm good to share and all that stuff, but make sure I have it so I can send it to Vandegrift so he can mark out me putting them over. So
I will definitely, and I'll send it to him directly. I'll send it to him directly as well.
Yeah, please do that.
I will do that. Yeah, he will definitely get this. But what I wanted to ask, so out of all the knowledge that you got from from your peers, what is the one thing that you really do tell your talent? I mean, you mentioned that you say you are the best kept secret in pro wrestling, but is there any other things that you give them for guidance to develop themselves as not only just human beings, but for instance, if like for their gimmick or for even in the in-ring skill abilities, like what other type of advice or guidance you provide to them that is stuck into their mind every day when they wake up every morning, besides what you mentioned being kept best secret in pro wrestling, but what other great words of wisdom that you give them that it clicks on them every day when it comes to the facility and train with you?
Well, to be cliched and just to say, hey, be different, but to go down that rabbit hole, what that means is be humble and intelligent and open-minded enough to get comfortable with getting uncomfortable, stepping out of your comfort zone, stepping out of your wheelhouse and just expanding your mind, trying new things. If 20 other wrestlers zig and you zag, guess who stands out? And I'm a big fan of all the styles of wrestling. I'm a big fan of all the different companies for different reasons. I like variety. It is the spice of life. I don't want to go to Golden Corral and eat 5 pounds of pizza. I want the pizza and the spaghetti and the burgers and the hot dogs and the Jello and the ice cream, and just life go. More and more life goes on. I want variety, and so find a way for whoever you are, boy or girl or something in between, whether you're short, tall, jacked, chubby, skinny, whatever you are. Figure out what tools the universe has given you and how to really maximize what you got to work with. Like if you're this spindly little stick that's going to fly away with a warm breeze, I don't know that you need to be this giant ass kicker. And if you never took a lesson in karate in your life, I don't know that you need to be a ninja assassin. So I think you kind of need to play to your strengths, hide your weaknesses, and whatever it is that you were doing, just remember, boys and girls, this is a business, so you're thinking about making money. But the most important thing that supersedes that is you are in this business and following your dreams. You're in this business, art, craft, sport, whatever you want to call it. You're in this business for one reason only: smiles on faces. That's the important part, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So, when there's pandemics and there's crisis after crisis and there's shady politicians and there's just you name it, every horseshit thing we have to deal with, inflation, everything we have to deal with on this planet. Pro wrestling lets you vent, it lets you boo, and lets you cheer, and lets you yell at everybody where you can't do that in real life. You can't yell at your husband, at your wife, at your kids, at your boss, at your brothers, at your sisters, at the cops, at the doctors, at the whoever. You will get in trouble. But guess what? You can scream and yell at wrestlers all day till you're blue in the face, and you can go home tired from just expending all of your energy yelling at the ring. I hate you. I love you. You suck. Boo. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. And you get to go home spent. Let all that aggression out from whatever life's done to you. That's what we're here for. We are big athletic psychiatrists, and you're on this giant couch of the arena, and you can just let it all out. And let us poke and prod your brains with us. Some of us are bad guys, and some of us are good guys or good girls or whatever. To come to a wrestling show is to let yourself let loose. That is what we're there to do. And if you do it well, we've done you a good service. If we haven't, then hopefully we have. We don't have to talk about the other way. But teaching again, whether it's Karrion Kross or Van de Griff or Chris Bay or who the heck ever it is, they all know full well debate those people, make them go home going, holy moly, did you see what so-and-so did? Did you see the thing that Chris Bay did? Did you see that thing Angelina Love did? Did you see that? Did you see how crazy she jumped out of the sky and did all this stuff? Did you see Solo Sikoa do that deal? Did you see this? Did you see that? The smiles on faces.
Indeed. Absolutely agree with that. And I absolutely agree. So I kind of want to get a little backtrack just very briefly. I want to speak about your career, getting involved in WWE, being as KIZARNY. I know, listening to your other conversations you had, I know you were, your childhood best friends are with Edge and Christian. So, and of course, you train along with them, and throughout your career, you got into the WWE. Do you have any best moments during your 10 years there at the time being in WWE? And was there comparative of what you read or what you see or what you hear or what you see now? How different it is from from what it was prior then to what it is currently now? I mean, but what has been so far, if you can recall, like greatest moments during your time in WWE?
Well, being a guest coach there has been really rewarding. That's been awesome. Dropping knowledge on new kids and watching little light bulbs ping above their heads as they kind of start getting stuff. That's super duper rewarding. Again, I think it feeds my inner Mrs. Doubtfire. I enjoy being a coach. And every time I get a chance to go to Orlando and do that, that's amazing. The kid in a candy store. How can you not be happy when you're a professional giant child and you get to play at Toys R Us? You know, like
right.
how good is that? But the difference between, so are you asking me what the difference is like from before to till now?
What it is. Yeah.
So I think, WWE is on a whole different level as far as like, I mean, they're recruiting people from all over the world and they're cultivating and they're really growing crops. They're really just planting seeds and growing crops. You got wonderful coaches. I mean, how can you not learn when you've got Fit Finley, Terry Taylor, Robbie Brookside, Steve Carino, Norman Smiley, just the list goes on and on. Like, I mean, how can you not learn? Dudes walked around the locker room, Devon and so forth, Adam Peters, all these, and then plus all the wrestlers that are there, whether it's, Edge or Rey Mysterio or just whoever's there. How can, Shawn Michaels, fuck, how can you not, you got to be some kind of dipshit to not be able to learn something from Shawn Michaels. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And they cultivate these guys and girls in a way that it's just so darn impressive. The facilities are like Olympic level facilities, So, man, I can't, that's what I'm looking for. I can't incriminate myself on the internet by saying I would have killed for that opportunity when I was younger. But allegedly, I may or may not have killed for that opportunity when I was younger. So all those kids that get to do that, I mean, what a wonderful opportunity. I know they go through different ideas, mandates, and structures, or whatever you want to call it, like anything, any other business. I know a lot of indie people were butthurt or worried or whatever when they said, "Oh, we're only going to hire college people." They go through these ideas. That's all they are.
Yeah.
WWE and every company that's any good is going to just keep on trying different stuff. Just try that out. And they'll realize, hey, that's all great and fine and good, but we need guys and girls that have indie experience to help filter in that and kind of like temper and taper all that stuff. So you kind of need everybody. You can't not just hire people that have spent their whole lives trying to follow a dream and just kind of overlook them and cash in for, some awesome superstar that's just an athletic anomaly but doesn't know anything about wrestling. Like that's fine and good too, but I think you kind of need a little bit of both, but sort of back in the day, it was like they started hiring some guys like that. You'd find some big athletic anomaly or something, and okay, bring that person on and whatever. We'll see what we can do with them and whatever. But really, it was just career criminals like me that were just traveling the world, paying dues, sleeping in their cars, doing whatever the heck they had to do to learn their craft. And I spent so many years, doing that, sleeping in my car, driving. I was like that Bugs Bunny cartoon. We just see him squiggling and wiggling all over the map. Just one morning I'm in Detroit, the next night I'm in St. Louis, the next night I'm in Louisville, wherever the heck I am, just all over constantly. And you get yourself there. You find your way. You learn your craft. You get experience. You talk to people with more knowledge than you, and you absorb what they're telling you, and you listen to them, and you pay attention, and you ask questions, and you think, and you feel, and you create, and then you blossom into what you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's any different these days. It's fancier these days, and the kids have it a lot nicer. Like they're getting paid pretty darn well to figure this out. Where we were paying, spending money, losing money. You get a little $75 payday or something, but your gas alone would be $300 traveling 20 hours to go someplace, So,
yeah,
it's not like that now, but that's just the benefit of this day and age. You can't get mad at them. You can't be bitter towards them. You just have to realize, hey, they're reaping the benefits. Like I'm sure people 100 years ago would have loved to have cell phones that they could have talked to each other, but we didn't have that technology then. So sucks to be you. We're lucky enough that we have easier ways to communicate now. So just like I'm sure in 100 years there'll be all sorts of stuff that we haven't even imagined yet. That those people will be like, how'd they ever live without that stuff? But we obviously did, and so forth. So I think wrestling will always boil down to smiles on faces, whether you're being produced out of a big fancy Olympic style facility or whether you're grinding on some indie shows or whatever. Like if it's meant to be, it will be. You know, some of those guys, those girls at those big fancy places, they won't make it. And some of those guys grinding right out of the mud in some indie show, they will make it. And back and forth and vice versa. It will just be the universe kind of throwing its cards down and seeing how the cookie crumbles. Be that.
Yeah, definitely. The way how I would put it, honestly, for me is like you guys paved the way for the current talent of where how how you mentioned, okay, they kind of have it more fancier, a little bit more, a little more lenient. But honestly, you could say that you guys paved the way. But we're the pioneers of where it is currently, where it's at the state of professional wrestling in, like WWE, for instance, or you could say maybe I could include All Elite Wrestling, or heck, maybe New Japan. I don't, like I said, I'm not quite sure how the environment is currently, but I could honestly say you guys paved that way for them and being the true pioneers for that, honestly.
But like for me specifically, I think I had witnessed every now that I think of it, holy moly, I with my own eyes witnessed every single developmental system. So like I was brand new, fresh out of the womb, and I was down in that Memphis. The Memphis studio was the first, technically, officially, like WWE developmental place. Right. No business being there. I was, maybe 20 matches in, somehow just kind of there for a couple weeks, whatever. Learned some very valuable lessons. The very first name guy I ever got to have the privilege of getting in the ring was there at that Memphis developmental place, and it was Bob Eaton of Midnight Express. Ooh. And like little old me had no business being in there with beautiful Bobby.
Beautiful Bobby, man.
He was so awesome. He was so cool, and taught me a lot. It was amazing. And then from there, OPW and Deep South and FCW and NXT and the WWE PC and all that stuff. So I've gotten to witness all those different things. So, each one just was more impressive than the next. And you're like, holy moly, how are they going to top this? And then they do. Even from FCW, like that was archaic compared to what NXT is. Seeing that PC and seeing like the NXT arena, oh my goodness, it is just so darn impressive. Like I'm a giant little kid when I get to play there. My wife would joke and just be like, "You were a giant child playing at Toys R Us." Like she would say, "Go enjoy it." Like yes, dear. It's like I got 2 words for you. Yes, dear.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I wanted to ask, I know that you had on just a brief stint in AEW. I mean, I
would call it a stint. I was there for a couple of weeks, backstage, and I did a match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a stint. I'd maybe call it a hello.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Trying to find the right word to put it in. But, how was that environment when, seeing, another alternative wrestling, and what are your thoughts of that current product currently right now? I mean, now that's another alternative. We haven't had one since WCW went out of business. I mean, we did had Impact, but even though I love Impact and I enjoy it to this day, but of course it's not going to reach to where WWE marketing levels at.
Well, it just doesn't have the same budget. I mean, it's not Coke, like Coke and Pepsi. It's kind of like Coke and I don't know, Tahiti Treat or something. I don't know.
Shasta, you could put Shasta, like Shasta Cola.
Bago, I don't know.
Yeah. RC Cola.
There you go. There you go.
So
there's a lot of great talent at Impact. Zero problem with it. I think it's a great product, but they're just budget wise and all that stuff. It's just not on the same level, because I mean, all these players, whether some of them have been in WWE and AEW and Impact and AAA and wherever, all the above. So the talent's the talent, good, bad, or indifferent. And just what kind of situation are they playing in? Are they in the in the room with Tony Khan? Are they in the room with Triple H? Are they in the room with Scott D'Amore? Are they in the room with Tiger Hattori? Are they in the room with Conan? Like, where are they? What are they doing? Where are they? But again, they're all great wrestling shows, and they're all there to put smiles on faces. So, like, you can't lose with any of them.
Yeah.
But as far as AEW, I thought it was a really fun place to be. The backstage was very cool. For guys and girls, for the most part, I think got along pretty great. We've seen a couple little tiffs since then. Whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think you should brother it out and figure it out again for the sake of smiles on faces. And I think sometimes a lot of shows can get guilty of too many cooks in the kitchen. So I think when too many people don't want to bend, then problems happen. And some of the guys and girls just have to kind of know, like, hey, somebody has to bend here. Somebody has to lean. Somebody has to, be the foil. Somebody has to be the good guy, the bad guy, this, that, whatever. And there's a balance. If we have too much of one thing, everything is off kilter. But if we have the right amount of, good versus the right amount of evil, and it's just a fine balance, but a balance nonetheless. And if you have that, then I think the show is going to be pretty wonderful. So I think on the nights where stuff is booked well, stuff goes well. When the stuff is not booked so well, stuff doesn't go so well. Personally, I see a lot of talent at every company that I would enjoy to work with. Give you a wish list. But as far as who I have access to, who I enjoy, like, so there's guys I would want to work with for different reasons. There's guys that I just like as humans that I think I would have fun tearing into, and they could have fun tearing into me. And there's other guys where I just think, man, I just want to beat the shit out of that guy, so forth, or just people where you just kind of look and your creative mind's eye just goes, man, I could, go head to head with that person. I think the fans would enjoy that.
Oh,
and I'll put it out here. Somebody who I don't know well. I've met him. He's nice. He's cool. I've known him for years. I don't know him well, but he's a student of the game. He loves his shit the same way as I do. Is John Moxley. I think, man, him coming up from CCW and all that stuff, and he's a hardcore guy and all this stuff, whatever. Well, I think going head to head with him would test his boundaries. He's a fan favorite, whether he's up to good guy stuff or bad guy stuff. He's a fan favorite. I know my role. I know if I got in the ring, I could be the nicest guy in the world. I could be the most talented guy in the world. But where we are on the pecking order of things, he's John Moxley and I'm KIZARNY. But bigger than him, as far as hardcore stuff, I think I know my way around everything he knows his way around. And it would be no ill will. I just think it would be a fun thing to get down with. It's like, man, I sure would like to take him for a spin, because when he does his hardcore stuff, it's usually against guys that, well, I don't know, they're kind of, a lot of the guys that he is doing hardcore stuff where they're kind of more of the Buster Douglases of hardcore. But you want a Mike Tyson,
yes,
here I am, motherfucker.
Oh yes, I love it.
So Tony Khan, if you're listening, you got a free Wednesday night or Friday night or whatever, and you want to see me tear into your boy, I'll be happy to do that.
Ooh, hell yeah, I would love to see that. Oh my, I think
that'd be fun. He's good friends with Christian, who is the very first person I ever met on this planet. Christian and I met in the sandbox, kindergarten, and he really likes John Moxley. So I think by proxy, that means I should probably really like John Moxley. And I think if I have a clue of what Christian likes in a human, I think me and John Moxley would do just fine in the ring. I think we would enjoy. And I'm calling him out not to insult him. I'm calling him out to give him a fun challenge. If he thinks that, some big spooky guys he's been in the ring with so far is fun, well, not to rip off another clown, but bro, wait till you get a load of me.
Yes, I love it. Yes, I love it. It's fucking fantastic. Good shit. Love that. You spoke about Christian, and what are your thoughts on so far in his career right now in AEW? I mean, I know you guys still speak, of course, because you're best friends. I mean, you proud of his, where he's at right now in his career? Do you feel like? I feel he still has a lot more to go. And then, Christian, another one who I feel, for me, I mean, to each his own, I feel was not given the platform in WWE the time. I mean, the world heavyweight, I'm not disrespecting, his run as a world heavyweight champion, but I would love to see him as a WWE champion.
This is my honest thing. This is not an insult. This is a compliment, especially coming from a coach. Okay. Christian is the best carpenter in the galaxy. Okay. What that means is Christian can build guys like no other.
Yes.
They would always say, "Oh, we're gonna feed these guys to Jake the Snake to get him ready for Hulk Hogan, or we're gonna feed these guys to so and so to get him ready for so and so." Christian could take an awesome wrestler, or Christian could take a bag of shit and turn him into gold. That's just how good Christian is. Like, Christian is the best. Not the biggest dude, not the scariest dude, not the tallest dude, not the guy that can jump the highest, do the fanciest spot. Christian is the carpenter. To give you an idea of what that means, when we say carpenter, we mean somebody that can build other guys.
Yeah.
Carpenters were guys like Cowboy Bob Orton. Yep. That's a carpenter. Jake the Snake is a carpenter. Jake would get guys ready for Hogan. Jake would get guys like Rick Rude or Macho Man or whoever, Bundy or whoever it was. He would get those guys ready for the top guy. And, Jake wrapping his brain around being a carpenter, again, Jake and Christian, arguably two best carpenters in the galaxy. They are still so slick. Like, Jake's mind he's as sharp as a knife. Christian is as sharp as a knife. The only problem is Jake is just, he's in his 60s, so he can't physically deliver the way he could, but his mind is right there. And Christian is still young enough where he can go, let me tell you, and then some. But his brain is on point. Christian's brain functions like on a whole different level. Like, when you hear people say, "Oh, so-and-so's got a high wrestling IQ," like, much as it pains me to say something nice about Christian, is that, he's got about the highest wrestling IQ you could probably find on an earthling. So to me, that's the compliment. Saying the words carpenter, to some people might leave a bad taste. To me, I fancy myself a carpenter.
Oh, indeed.
What's that?
Indeed. No, indeed, absolutely, indeed.
Yeah.
Now, what about Edge, though? I mean, we see Edge is already, announcing his retirement, kind of saying his last time will probably be next year. Could you be his last match? I mean, you're his best friend.
I would love to be, and I know a lot of guys, got an opportunity to wrestle him that are certainly not as special to him as he is to me, or vice versa. But if it's in the cards, I would physically love to get down with Edge, but at the same time, I wouldn't. Almost for the same reason of how I was talking about LA Park.
Yeah.
But seeing as Edge and Christian are two different companies, I certainly wouldn't have a problem being the stunt dummy for Christian and having Edge's back, especially when clowns like Judgment Day are fucking around, or whoever it is. Met Dominic today, and that was kind of cool. Do I punch this kid in the face, or do I just say hello?
Oh,
hey, you messing with my fat friend Edge? What's wrong with you, kid?
Oh, man.
We always grew up, Edge and Christian and I. We always call each other our term of endearment was fatso. We would always call each other fatty, fatso, fat kid stuff. So I thought, I either punch the kid in the face, or I tell him that, hey, when you see Edge, tell him he's fat, And he just laughed and giggled, and he's like, okay, stuff. But yeah, I think I think I would much rather be Edge's corner man, buddy, tag person, somebody to help him out. It was funny because right at literally the week after my wedding is when Edge sort of did his kind of darker, eviler turn, and everybody was just like, "Man, what'd you do to him?" He was a nice guy until he went to Vegas and stood next to you while you said your vows. And like the next week, he was all fucked up. Like, well, it may or may not be my fault. I don't know. Jake was there too. Jake could have said something weird to him. Jake is as creepy as you can get, and Jake probably gave him a little snake bits. And and then, did something to him. But yeah, everybody's like giggling. They're like, man, what happened at Sinn's wedding that fucked Edge's brain all into evil mode, And there's a funny link of it. You can go see it on YouTube. Go to like Freak Show Wrestling page, and you'll scroll down and you'll see the wedding, and you'll see the wedding party afterwards, where like so many of my buddies from, Guinness World Records, America's Got Talent, all these different things, like these sideshow performers that are not just the typical, which are spooky enough. These are best of, and they all did a surprise show for my wedding, and I was just sitting there watching Edge and Beth's just going, holy shit, what am I looking at? And I looked over, and Dexter Loomis is sitting there in the front row going, my fucking brain is melting. What am I looking at? And when good old Dexter is upset, something must be happening that's pretty gnarly and stuff. So, but yeah, I think definitely I would, if we're talking about AEW and Tony Khan, I think I want to get my hands on Jon Moxley. If we're talking about WWE, I think I'd like to have Edge's back against who the fuck ever, Judgment Day or anybody else.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool, and I think that would be emotionally the most special thing I could do. Like, absolutely. He is my brother. Both of those clowns, Edge and Christian, are as close to me as my own blood brother is. I think Edge and Jake are kind of the two guys, Edge and Jake. And I have another friend who's not some big famous wrestler, but he was one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda guys. He was one of those guys that should have had a contract and just didn't. He's one of those dudes that fell through the cracks for whatever reason. His name is Jason Bates. He was the Street Fighter. He was at OVW, and he was just a sweet guy and an ass kicking dude. And those are between them, they are my unrelated brothers. Like, they are as close to me as my blood brother. All of them. I think any one of them would rescue me from a jail in God knows, in parts unknown. If I woke up in parts unknown in a jail and said, hey, get me the fuck out of here, those would be the guys that would come and get me, like, no questions asked.
That's awesome. That's a brotherhood ship right there for sure. Yeah. But during your time in WWE, though, do you have any moments that you can share that you had with Edge and Christian on the road? Sure.
I can tell you lots of funny stuff. Special. I'll give you a sweet and special one first. Then I'll give you a funny one. I was wrestling in Tupelo, Mississippi, and I was wrestling. Who was I wrestling? Oh boy, the years are getting dropped in my head for a living. It's coming back all right now. Oh geez. I'm brain farting. I can't remember who I was wrestling. Eric Escobar is who I was wrestling. Vicky Guerrero's bodyguard.
Yeah.
And Ricky Steamboat was our producer that night. And he comes over and he goes, okay, KIZARNY, I know you want to go do some asshole shit out there, and we're always like holding you back to like, because he always had that, they always had the leash on you, they don't want to get you to do too crazy stuff. He goes, all right, we're in Tupelo. This is Elvis's legit hometown before he moved to Memphis. So if you want to find a place in this match to do the Elvis dance and all that stuff or whatever, and be my guest, go have at it, for fuck's sakes. And I said, okay, Mr. the Dragon, here I go. And so me and Eric went out there, and another good buddy of mine, a good dude that we didn't mind tearing into each other. And we tore it up. We tore it up real good. And it was weird because at that time, you're not just doing dark matches. I was in the middle of a card as this indie guy. And I was in a card full of Edge, Christian, Hardy Boys, Shelton Benjamin, Big Show, Booker T, Undertaker, Triple H, and there's not curtain jerking. I'm right in the middle of this fucking card. And Eric Escobar was coming up new the same way I was. So we're this kind of like these two guys that are not known compared to anybody else on the card. So we go there and we bust our ass and we get a really good reaction. And we came in the back, and I'll never forget it. This to me is like winning a title, or better than winning a title. So first one of my idols, and then one of my good best brothers. Walking through the curtain, and I would do this swimming, as you've seen me come out and do my twitchy whatever. I walk through the curtain, and Ricky Steamboat is imitating me doing this. He's like, "KIZARNY, it was awesome. You guys fucking killed it. That was great." So to have one of my idols, you know, be so happy and to put it over, that was super duper cool moment. And then as I rounded the corner, there was Edge going, dude, that was fucking awesome. Like, you guys tore it up. And he would tell me straight. He would tell me if something was the drizzling, runny, corny shits. He wouldn't hold it back because that's how much we love each other. And he knows I would want to hear it honest. And he was like, dude, that was fucking awesome. And so to have Ricky Steamboat and Edge in the same night just give you the highest of praises. I mean, I don't know that it can get any better for a wrestler. Let alone my brother. He's my brother. But as a pro wrestler, having Edge and Ricky Steamboat, you know, give you the compliments that they did was pretty darn good. So that was cool. And I will tell you a really ridiculous, the most ridiculous, and there's not an end to this story, so I'm sorry to disappoint right out of the gate. But this is just so weird that, again, why wouldn't I be telling you a weird story? But it's just so weird. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just fucking weird. To this day, I don't have an answer to what I'm about to tell you. So I get brought up as KIZARNY, and I'm on the road doing the SmackDown loops. And so I would ride with Edge and Justin Roberts quite often, sometimes Marty Elias, but it was me and Edge. It was always me and Edge. And so one night, I think I'm flying in from someplace and he's flying in from someplace. And as a developmental guy, we got free hotels. So when you get like full contract, then you have to handle that stuff on your own. Right. So, and usually what would happen is Edge would just force me to stay at the nice hotel he was staying at because I was just staying at the whatever that they would give me. He's like, no, just shut up and come with me. I'm like, okay. But on this night, he was flying in before me, and for whatever reason, we were only there for a minute. So I'm like, well, dude, just jump into my hotel for a fucking change, and I'll be there when I get there, when my flight gets in, and we'll crash and we'll get up and drive to wherever we were going. And he's okay. So he gets in at whatever time he got in, and I get in really late. This flight is coming in really late. And so I'm dog tired. I've got my hotel key and dragging my rolly bag up the deal, and I'm about to swipe my key card on the door. All of a sudden, the hotel room, the room goes flying open, and Hornswoggle, in just his little tighty whities, comes rolling out like fucking Sonic the Hedgehog, like out of the door and into the hallway. And I'm just looking at like, what's happening right now? And he kind of rolls and takes this bump, and he gets up. And he's like, "Rah!" And he looks like a little angry squirrel, and he runs away. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? And I see Edge coming out wearing nothing but Hornswoggle's pants, which look like some kind of lederhosen on Edge. Okay. Like, it's like they barely come up to his knees because Edge is about 6'5", 6'6", whatever he is, you know. And so these pants literally look like these weird lederhosen is the best way I can describe it. And he's getting, get out of here, you filthy little creature, or, you know, whatever he's saying and whatever. Get out of here, beat it. And then he looks at me and goes, "Oh, hey, man." And then he walks into it like, and I'm thinking, the fuck? And then just as I'm about to walk in, Matt Stryker and Tommy Dreamer come walking out of my room, like with their heads hung like walk of shame kind of thing. I look at them and they're like, and they just keep on walking. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here?
What the fuck just happened?
Yeah, and I did that. I walked in and I threw my bag down. I didn't even ask. I'm like, I don't want to fucking know. I'm just gonna lay down on this. We'll talk about it at breakfast. Maybe not even. We didn't even talk about it at breakfast because I'm like, I don't want to. So there's my story that has no ending. To this day, if somebody ever figured out an ending to that story, please let me know.
Oh man, the only one who knows that story is Tommy Dreamer and Matt Stryker. The only people probably that were there presently who has not probably even has not discussed it.
The look on Stryker and Dreamer's face just told you everything and nothing all at once. Like, I'm just like, something really bad happened. They murder somebody in there? Like, what's going on? What happened? Dreamer just like, and he hung his head in shame and just sauntered off into the sunset. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? And again, just please, everybody listening to this, remember, I'm the weird guy. I'm not just the weird guy. I'm the warlord of weird. And I am still going, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Oh man, that's fucking amazing. Fucking Dylan, can't believe it. I need to get Dylan on the show. I'm gonna ask him one day. I'm gonna ask Hornswoggle just for that. If I ever get him on the show, I'm definitely going to ask him. That is for sure. Because
you know what you need to ask. I should probably. It's getting late. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Vegas right now. I should ask Dreamer because Dreamer's got a memory like an elephant. Be like, what happened that day? And I'm sure he'll tell me. He's got like this weird, Rain Man remembers everything fucking head of his. So I'm sure he could unload it. I'm sure he would probably enjoy himself remembering. But yeah, to this day, I'm like,
oh man, definitely, man, definitely. And of course, you mentioned that you're obviously yourself. You're Sinn Bodhi. I know the Sinn, first name. I know. I recall your moments at Impact when you went to New Church. For me, honestly, that was like one of my favorites of all time, right there. You being in a New Church.
Thank you.
I fucking enjoyed it. It was awesome to see you be part of that. Because
I was very proud of that.
Oh man, I wish it could have gone longer. To be honest with you, it could have gone a long way. To be honest, just
you know what? When so not too long ago, we did the Ric Flair's last match show. So me and Wolfie D, aka Slash from the New Church, we were two of the producers on that show. And I remember texting Conrad Thompson about the show, saying, "You realize you're going to put the New Church into a match for the first time in like damn near a decade. Me and Wolfie, we keep up. We're good buddies to this day, but we don't work together. We just haven't. I'd do it in a heartbeat, but we haven't." And Conrad, he's got that funny. He's like, "Oh man, that's so cool." He's like, "Oh man," like, "All right." He was very happy about it. I just said, I just wanted to thank you because whether we make anything of that or not, it's just kind of really cool to be in the same ring with my brother. And too, weirdly, that night it was so cool because Crowbar was in there as well.
Yeah,
and he was in my very first TNA match ever. There was a 6-man tag with me and Crowbar and Gangrel against the 3 Live crew, and who was also there producing BJ James, Road Dogs. Right. And Crowbar was just always super cool, super nice, super talented, super knowledgeable. Wolfie D, exactly the same, super, super awesome. And it was just cool to know I was in the ring with both those cats at the same time. That was really, and in Nashville, that's New Church country,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just about
to say
that. Yeah.
And telling Conrad that, I'm like, you have the church in the ring at the same time in church country, Oh man, that's so cool.
Oh my God, Conrad.
I don't do a good Conrad Thompson voice, but he was very sweet about it.
Oh man, but I honestly, I really enjoyed that. That New Church was like one of my favorites, man. Seeing TNA, I enjoyed it a lot, man. You did a fantastic job. You Wolfie D, I really enjoyed it. I wish it could have gone longer, honestly. But what I wanted to ask.
One now you got me reminiscing. One time we did one of those one night only TNA pay-per-views, and Al Snow had called me up and asked me if I would do it, and I said, "Yeah, of course we'll do it." And they put me and Wolfie together. Now I think they didn't have us with Mitchell. Father Mitchell was with Rick Banderas, with El Macias, who's another good brother.
Yeah, Macias. Yeah.
And they figured, well, just to weigh it out, we'll put Mitchell with Macias, and then you and Wolfie, you guys can wrestle LAX or whatever. I'm like, sure, no problem. But as soon as the church saw each other, we were hanging out. And Mitchell and me and Wolfie, we walked through catering, and all the dudes were like, and we're just in like flip flops and board shorts and whatever, all 3 of us, and even just dressed like silly beach bums. All the dudes in the locker room were like, they just like looked over and we're like, what? They're like, you fuckers are scary looking, even in beach shorts and flip flops. Like, fuck, the 3 of you together, Jesus Christ. And we're just like, we'll take that, sure, But yeah, the church was one of my favorite things ever, one of my proudest things, and it was definitely something that created good brothers to this day. Like, I'm cool with Evil Jim, with Father Mitchell. I'm cool with Wolfie D, Slash. I'm cool with Shane Douglas. Just good dudes to this day. So cheers, boys.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. But yeah, what I wanted to ask, so the Bodhi. So the last name Bodhi, where did that came from? How did Bodhi? You had Sinn already there, but Bodhi didn't come along like right after. So where did
Sinn was there because I picked Sinn right out of the gate because Ron Hutchinson, he was my basis coach, and he said, "Oh, you're always going to start as a babyface. You're always going to start as a babyface. Blah blah blah." And then all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, next week we're short on heels. You're going to start as a heel. Here you go. Think of a name." I'm like, "Oh fuck." So I came up with Sinn because white or black, gay or straight, red or blue, whatever. Everybody is bound by one thing, Sinn. So I thought, okay, that's where I'm going to go with that. And then years later, and then Ron Hutchinson sort of goes, okay, well, that's cool. We'll put original on the front of it so they kind of understand what the word is. Because if you just say Sinn, it's such a short word. You're like, what? What's his name? Sam? Slappy? What'd you call him? What? Sinn? What? So if you say original Sinn, it kind of gives preface to the name. And I wasn't a big fan of it, but I understood why Ron wanted to use that. So I did that for a long time. And when I got hired out of OVW, I told Dr. Tom, I said, hey, I would really, I look very extravagant. I still do, but I look really out there. I didn't want to have such a cartoony name and also be, looking visually weird and having a cartoony name. I said, do you mind if I use Sinn as like a first name and if I come up with the last name? He said, what do you got? And one of the movies that I watched as a kid that really spoke to me was Point Break. And Patrick Swayze played Bodhi.
Yes.
Bodhi wasn't the name of his character. Bodhi was his nickname. You never knew the character's real name. His character's nickname was the Bodhisattva, which is a Buddhist word for without hate, greed, or delusion. So I thought, man, these guys are like these hippie-ish bank robbing surfers. They don't want to be a slave to nobody. They don't want to be stuck in metal coffins and driving on the freeways going to 9 to 5, blah, 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 blah. They robbed the banks, but they didn't want to hurt anybody. They just, whatever. And so just nonetheless, all of that really just sort of spoke to me. And so hence I kind of thought Sinn Bodhi.
Awesome.
Here we go. And the Warlord of Weird part was weird and literally weird as an example. It was like, I didn't come up with it. A tiny little girl in the audience of I want to say it was maybe an Indiana show. I was doing some weird shit. And this little girl came up to me at the merch table and she was like, boy, oh boy, you sure are the Warlord of Weird. Like stealing it.
Love it.
I mean, she couldn't have been, I don't know how old you are when you're this tall, but I mean, she couldn't have been 6 or 7. So some 6 or 7-year-old little girl that I do not know was completely befuddled by me and didn't understand and kind of gave me that insulting compliment. And I took it to this day. So whoever you are out there, sweetheart, thank you very much for that.
Awesome. That's awesome. I really forgot about that fucking movie, Point Break. I really forgot about it. And then when you mentioned the nickname, I remember, because I'm in my 40s. So I grew up with with the Crockett era, AWA.
How old are you?
Me, 40.
You're 40?
Yes.
No, like a day over 39 and a half, my friend.
Thank you. I try to keep myself young, but when you have a wife, it makes you look older. But I mean that with respect, honey. So in case you're watching this.
I was just on a total side note that you're talking about your wife. On a side note, made me laugh. My wife is going to hate me for saying this, but I could not stop fucking laughing. About 2 weeks ago, she comes home giggling, and I'm like, what's up? She says, hey, I was going through the little Mickey D's drive-thru, and this really sweet young man gave me this total insult, and he had no idea that it was an insult. And I was like, what did he say? And he goes, she says that he said that, she's like, you're really pretty for your age. And I almost fucking took a bump right there. I almost just fell over fucking laughing. Because I'm sure that young man, meant it so sweetly. It was just too young and dumb to know how stupid that sounded,
Oh, shit.
And, fuck, I could not stop laughing. And I have not stopped reminding her. I'm like, you are really pretty for your age. Just go fuck yourself. Go do the dishes. Get out of my fucking face. I'm like, all right. I get it. I did 2 words for you. Yes, dear.
Oh shit!
But
Wow.
my inner child, again, we all as wrestlers are giant children. I am a professional child. I have a PhD in recess. I am a giant fucking child. So when I can tease my wife and mess around or tease the boys or whatever, it's super fun. I can't help it.
Man, age is only a number, man. It's all in the head. You're what you feel.
And she knows that. She knows that full well. And I mean, my wife is a smart, funny, sexy lady at any age. And she's gorgeous, and she's my hero, and I love her. And marrying her was the absolute best decision I ever made in my life. So, having said that, when I hear a funny thing like her drive-through story, I could not help but just go to town and just giggle my ass off at that shit.
Oh man, love it, man, love it. Couple more before I let you go, because I know I'm taking a lot of your time, and which I appreciate. Wanted to ask, by this far in your career, what has been your defining moment right now in your career currently?
Well, that's a question. I think, again, not to sound hokey and cheesy or corny is the word, corny. But just traveling the world and putting smiles on faces is really this coolest thing for me. I'm not that guy that thinks like, oh, if you're not into this to, be the world champ, what are you in for? I'm not that guy. I'm like, well, there's only a handful of motherfuckers to get that push. So it's easy for that guy to ask that question, but it takes a whole locker room. It takes a whole roster of people to facilitate all those smiles on faces for 2 or 3 hours at a live event or at a TV show or whatever. So really, the corny answer is just putting smiles on everybody's faces and getting to travel the world and seeing cool stuff that wouldn't have been in my cards otherwise. Like if I was stuck in some factory or some restaurant or something somewhere, I would have never got to see Stonehenge or the Statue of Liberty or this desert or that ocean or these mountains or what have you. But as far as wrestling, some of the guys that I grew up watching was always the coolest for me. Standing across from the Road Warriors or the Rock and Roll Express or the Steiner Brothers or Kamala or Jerry Lawler or Jake the Snake. Are you fucking kidding me? Like every time when I stand from week to week, every weekend I stand across from somebody and it's cool. When you stand across from those guys, it's extra fucking cool. You're like, what am I doing with my life? I'm about to fight the fucking Road Warriors. Like, what's wrong with me? And so that's really cool. Getting down with Gangrel, who's another one of my good brothers. Like, I'm just getting down with that scary ass vampire. That's some crazy shit, I mean, he is a wonderful human being in life. But man, you want a 280 pound pissed off vampire pit bull charging at you? It's not cool, And he's one of those dudes. I'm not going to insult the fans to let them think what know or think or whatever stuff is and all that stuff. But let me just tell you, boys and girls, Gangrel legitimately, in any realm of sports entertainment or MMA or bar fighting or whatever the fuck, that is a dude that wakes up when he gets hit. That is not a person you ever want to fight. That is just not a man you want to get down with. He is a great brother of mine, but boy, oh boy, fight a dude like that, that's some next level shit. He is a dude. I remember, and so like, out of all the guys that I could say, we have a term in the wrestling locker room, so that I will stooge off to the fans, and that term is, if you have been mean to Gangrel, you were a dick. Like, there's nobody that doesn't like Gangrel. Like, if you think Gangrel's a dick, you're the asshole. Like, that's how that goes. Like, I'd like to think a lot of people probably backstage, hopefully, I'd like to think that a lot of people think I'm nice. I am a total see you next Tuesday when compared to Gangrel. Like, he is just a sweet dude. But you put that dude in the ring or anywhere and you rev him up, that's a pit bull in the red, and you don't ever want that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Awesome.
So being in the ring with a guy like that, who is a good friend of mine and yet such a wonderful character, possibly in my mind's eye, possibly the greatest entrance of all time.
Oh, of course.
You hear that music and you see that red and you see that fire and you see him spitting that blood out of that cup. Like, you're like, yeah, this is awesome. Wait a second. He's there to kick my ass. Fuck.
Exactly right.
I remember D'Lo was making me laugh, telling me something like that, where he was wrestling Undertaker one night, and he's just like, he's in the ring, and he sees the lights go blue, and he hears the gong and all this stuff. He's like, yeah, all right, Undertaker's here. He's going to kick somebody's ass. Wait a second. That's somebody's me, you know?
Oh, man, I love it. I love it.
But I'll give you a really sweet memory. This was a really cool one for me, where sometimes in Vegas I'll do a fantasy camp. And whether you were athletically inclined or not makes no relevance, because this is exactly what that is. Like, if you're a shitty guitar player, but you're paying, you can have a fantasy camp with Kiss or whoever, you know. So if you're a 60-year-old lawyer, or you're a 20-year-old whatever, or you're whatever, and you have never done anything physical in your life, or you want to do a wrestling fantasy camp, I'll do that for you in Las Vegas. If you're paying, I'm playing. I will make sure you have time in your life. That's fine and good. I've done that for deaf people, autistic people. I've done it for athletic people. I've done it for Navy SEALs. I've done it for all sorts of people. But the coolest, I think my coolest memory ever in pro wrestling was not at a live show. It wasn't. I performed in front of 100,000 people opening for Guns N' Roses as KIZARNY, working for the Jim Rose Circus. This pales in comparison. So I was doing a fantasy camp, and a young man from England came in, and his mom had brought him in. He was about 21, 22, and he was autistic. And I'm thinking, holy shit, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure autistic people don't like to touch, you know, and they've got these different parameters that are social constructs that we don't have, you know. So I really had to kind of think about this. And I walked into this kind of day camp, and we had this match. And it's online. You can look it up. You can see it. And then we kind of gave him the name Tiger. He was the British Tiger or something. You can look up on that Freak Show page. You can scroll down. You can find it. And so it's not a 5-star match, but it's good. Like, it's actually pretty good. It's not, you know, it's not me and John Moxley. It's not me and Gangrel or whatever. But emotionally, I take this kid for a match. We have fun, whatever. Again, it's a fantasy camp. And afterwards, the mom kind of was teary-eyed, and she was just like, I've never seen my boy have so much fun in his entire life. Like, not just this year, today, like in his entire life. And then I was so flattered. And then they flew back to England, and then I got a nice email from her. She said in this email, and this is the part that I'm choked up thinking about this. She said that he told her that was his favorite day in his entire life. So I thought, well, wait a second. You know, big old gnarly, funny, scary, spooky, weird, very really good looking me was responsible for somebody's favorite day on planet Earth. Like, I'll fucking take that. You know, like, to me, that's worth any gold title belt or whatever. Like, to be able to put be a smile of all smiles on somebody's face. That was their favorite day. Like, think about that, you know. Like, how many people are you responsible for doing that? Like, I'd like to think my wife, I probably have been responsible for some of her favorite days. I guarantee you she's been responsible for my favorite days. But to be responsible for somebody else's, like, holy shit. You know, it's not just a, yay, he did this move, or boo, oh, I don't like him, he's a bad guy, he did that move. You know, and then you're watching a whole 2-hour show of other guys jumping and girls jumping around and doing all sorts of things. But just to have that one-on-one connection, just to see that stuck with somebody. And I mean, he was not an athletic guy. And then he had this super thick sort of Scouse British accent where he was just so sing-songy. Like, it's a very rolly accent compared to like that British Cockney, that South London accent or whatever. It was a really hard accent to understand. His real name was Drew. And like, I couldn't even understand how he pronounced it. It's like, hey, but I'm Drew. Like, what? What did he just say? Well, Drew. I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. Drew? And I'm like, what the fuck is he saying? She's like, his name is Drew. I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, figuring out everything to do with him. again, you can go watch it. Like it's a fun little bit. I remember sending that to Terry Taylor because one of his kids has this autism, and I just thought Terry might appreciate this. And he was just like, he was really sweet. He was like, "Thank you for sending me this." He goes, "That was so cool," you know, and we kind of shared that cool moment. And Terry's got to look up to. And again, I saw Terry this week, and it was awesome to see him. Again, for as weathered as I am, as knowledgeable as I am, I'm still a young pup compared to Terry Taylor. So it's really cool to have guys that I can look up word for it to knowledge, and then still impress them with something like that match with Tiger, Drew the Tiger from England, you know. And he was, holy shit, that was really, really cool, man. And so, you know, we both agree, like, this is a business of smiles and faces.
Absolutely, man. Oh man, I really got. I have to look for that. I really have to see it, and that's hard, really, really hard, honestly, because you know I have relatives that have autism too, so it's really inspiring. And I mean that's the beauty of it. How you mentioned, you know, putting smiles on people's faces. It's the same how I always said, you know, tell everybody, inspire the uninspired, because at the end of the day, you want to leave that mark, because you never know.
Sure. Well, I mean, if I get in the car with a couple of my kids, my students, and I kind of treat it like first date rules. So what I do is, like, if you go on a first date and the person you're on the date with, if they don't, like, I'm going to pay for the date, I'm going to pay for the dinner or whatever. But if they don't offer, I'm not taking them on date number 2. Like, I'll pay for it, but just offer, just put it out there, you know. So it was always one of my funny things was, like, if they didn't offer to pay up some gas or whatever, they wouldn't get in my car again. But usually 9 out of 10 times kids would be like, "Oh, sir, can I give you some money?" And I tell them, "No, I certainly don't want your money." You know, "Well, can I buy you some food?" I'm like, "No, I'll buy the food." You know, it's my right and privilege as the older wrestler to do something nice for those kids. Like, "Well, what can we do for you, sir?" I say, when you're the old, really, really, really good-looking, grizzled wrestler, you can buy the gas and you can buy the food for the young fuckers that are getting in the car with you. Like, okay, we can do that.
Pay it forward.
Yeah, pay it forward, 100%. Wrestling or otherwise, just in life, be a cool person and pay it forward.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I know you get. I'm curious if you get asked this, because I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they ever have, but are you the White Rabbit? Are you the White Rabbit? Is it you, Sinn?
Not to stooge it off, but I would love to be. But I am not.
I could picture you being alongside with him. That I could picture, because there's that's just, you know, thinking that of, you know, how the chemistry looks, how, you know, just the looks itself, and the way how you know, in the ring is similar. I don't want to say similar, but different, of course. But just what you bring to the table as yourself, you know, as the Warlord of Weird. You have, of course, Mr. Bray Wyatt as well. I
will say this. I don't know who it is. I could probably figure it out. I could probably go find out. I could probably make a few calls and find out. And if I did, I would never stooge it off. But
no,
I could probably find out. But I will say is, over the years, so I'm happy to do podcasts for different people. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to different people, and I hope we are together, are amusing fans and so forth. But what I will not do anymore is written interviews, because I don't need people taking my words out of context. Like, if you hear a clip of anybody, a wrestler, an actor, a politician, or whatever, you just hear a 2-second clip, it can be taken so out of context or what have you, you know. Now, I invite all of those people to, if they're hearing something from anybody, watch the entirety of the clip. That way the clip doesn't get running man. Okay? Now, like, just get to the chopper. You know, like, what is he trying to say? What is he saying? Watch the whole fucking clip if you want to see what that person is saying. So I did this interview, and I was talking, and this guy kind of turned my words around. It kind of pissed me off. And I was very proud. I am very proud of Bray Wyatt. He was one of the kids that was just signed when I was at FCW as KIZARNY. He would always ask me questions. He was very respectful. And I never held anything back because I thought we're in the same building under the same roof, working for the same company. We're trying to make money together. So I'm always going to, again, help out and give answers. And he was really cool and really creative and really intuitive. And he was very inquisitive. And so long story short, I'd like to say that I gave him quite a bit of knowledge. And then years later, I was talking about that, and somebody took my words out of context, saying that he owed me. Nobody owes me shit. You know, I might be the Carl Perkins to his Elvis. I might have come up with some ideas, but everything he did on his own, and he breathed life into all those ideas. So out of all the people that I take, I don't take credit for training anybody, because again, you know, it's bits and pieces. Give Karrion Kross this thing. Give Angelina Love this thing. Give Crazy Steve this thing. Give Chris Bay this thing. You know, they're kind of gone are the days of you just training one guy in a barn for 5 weeks and then you're his trainer for the training. So it's a lot more convoluted than that these days. But I'd like to think I plan to help plant the early seeds of Bray Wyatt. And then I got turned around. So it sounded like heat, but it's not. I really am a big fan of Bray Wyatt. And, I did give him some early things that really planted stuff. And the only one that kind of stung a bit was Abigail, because Abigail is my legit blood sister. Okay. Her name was Sarah. And I would use my finishing move to this day is Tallulah Bell, which is fictional Sarah. And he would ask me, why do you call your finishing move Tallulah Bell? I said, I named it for my dead sister. He said, why would you do that? That's pretty harsh. And I said, well, when I hit my opponent with that double butterfly DDT Tallulah Bell, that opponent, like my sister, who was miscarried between me and my little brother in real life. That's not sports entertainment. That's not me making a story. That's real life. And I just said, when I hit my opponent with that Tallulah Bell, them just like her, they're not getting it. He thought, man, that's so harsh. Oh my goodness. And when I got canned, Abigail arrived. So out of all the different ideas that I had given him, awesome, take it, no problem, happy to give it to you. Why would I have in the first place if I didn't want you to have it? You know, we're trying to do is help yourself. But Abigail was always kind of hit me hard.
Yeah.
And the dude that wrote the article kind of took it out of context, and it never meant for it to sound like any heat. I'll tell you right now, where you could hear me in my full speak. Like Bray Wyatt, I think he's a great guy. I think he's a sweet guy. I think he's a talented guy. I think he's a creative guy. He owes me nothing. But I do think it'd be fun to get down with.
Oh, yeah.
I would enjoy, whoever the White Rabbit is, I don't know. But any of that aside, I'd like to get down with Bray Wyatt.
Oh, I would love that. It's a dream match that I would love to see, honestly. That would be a hell of a dream match just to have. Or even be aligning, as a faction along with his brother, Bo. There's so many creative ways
I used to get annoyed. People would come up to me at an indie show and be like, you'd be really great as the Bray Wyatt family. I'm like, I fucking helped build that fucking family. Like, I'm the older uncle to that family. I'm not the new guy. I'm the fucking old guy.
You know? But you could be the higher power. You see, they're just like the ministry. There's a higher power to it.
Right. I'm the Yoda of that family.
Exactly.
And Harper, rest his soul, was a good dude. I watched him take his baby steps on Chikara. Eric Rowan is a good dude. I've gotten down with him before too. That match is there's a match of him and I on that Freak Show YouTube page.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And I ripped him about Bray Wyatt in that too. We had fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Awesome, man.
Those guys are huge. Rowan, Redbeard, just a mountain of a man. He's just
Oh,
and Harper,
he is.
Harper was a huge dude. Rest his soul,
Yeah.
Good cat, good dude. He was missed.
Can't wait to see his son. Once he gets older, I cannot wait what Negative could do. So I'm looking forward for what Negative One would do. And I'm glad that he's in that environment, that family-oriented environment of professional wrestling. And
here's another sort of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that just ties stuff in. I remember telling Jake Roberts, I said I was training this kid in Vegas. He's about 16 now, and he was like, so we have a kids class in Vegas. I have nothing to do with it. I don't want anything to do with it. I love kids, but I don't want to be responsible for them being safe in the ring. I'll let the other trainer handle that. And this kid came up from that. He's the only kid I let in the adult class. And this little MFer is so good, and he's legit. His real birth name on his birth certificate is Bodhi, coincidentally. And Jake, this kid would be awesome for negative. Like that would be really, really cool to see Bodhi be his heel. Like that he would keep this kid safe. They could tell a wonderful story. It's easy. It'd be good. And that's another kid who is, I want to say he started training at 8 years old, which in North America is pretty darn unheard of. So this kid is going on phase 15. I mean, by the time he's 18, he's going to be a 10-year vet. And this kid is like fucking Spider-Man in the ring. He's another like Matt Vandergrift. Like this kid Bodhi is another dude that you will be enjoying for many years to come. And he is one of mine, and I'm just so damn proud. He's just so talented. You might see him on posters in Vegas and whatever. And I kind of joke with him that I'm his wrestling mom. I let him travel with some of the other guys to do other shows, whether it's in Utah or Arizona or wherever it is, or Vegas or whatever.
Yeah.
And this kid is he's like fucking Spider-Man. He's so good. He's so good. And I just tell him, just make sure that who you're in there with is going to take care of you and do you right. Being the wrestling mom, I don't want it to pull anybody's head off for taking advantage of the kid. So you pick your opponents really well, because don't let mom get upset. So
I love it, man. Love it. One last thing I wanted to ask, because I'm curious, and it got me invested. Going through, your profile. I've been going through your profile like a while back, and then see, not trying to be a stalker here, but I do like what you have created. And talk to me. How did you get involved in doing custom LJNs? Look at that. Awesome, Dusty. I love it. Oh, the road. I fucking love that. Kamala, yes. Love it. Love it. Oh, Jesse Bonaventura. Oh, man. How did you get involved in doing custom LJNs? How did that become about?
Well, so again, going back to the KIZARNY days when I had a few bucks, I splurged and got okay, I'll rewind. When I was a kid, I had all those big LJN wrestlers when I was a kid. And then they were in storage for a long time, and they got stolen out of my parents' garage. What kind of monster steals another person's toys? But I digress. And then so just after the KIZARNY thing, I had a few bucks. You know what? I'm going to buy that collection again just for myself. So I had the whole fucking collection, from the most expensive one, like the Sergeant Slaughter, to the Warlord and whatever, all the expensive ones. And then when the pandemic hit, my spidey sense as a worker just knew 2 weeks to flatten the curve, my ass. And I just knew I wanted to be as liquid as possible. So I sold that set amongst other things to make a few bucks. And years before, I bought extras. Like when I was going eBay hungry and buying that original set, I bought extras to sort of chop up and customize, whatever. And I dabbled in it, but I really didn't get to it. And then my wrestling schedule got to be so busy that I just sort of left it. So I just had all these extras and bins for years that I just forgot. And once I sold my big complete set, I thought, well, maybe I'll go and look in the garage and see what's in there, and just for shits and giggles, and see what I can find. And I had doubles, triples, quadruples of a lot of them. And most of the cheaper ones, and they were beat up and whatever. I thought, okay. Again, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, or shit. So I've got some time on my hands, so I'm going to start refurbishing them or playing Mr. Potato Head with them and creating new ones and whatever. Just trial and error and just learning. And I just got better and better at it. I learned how to cast and mold the heads and bodies, and how to grow the heads, like with different chemicals and stuff. Like I would take a Hasbro head that was way too small to be on an LJN, but I would learn how to mold it, put the right stuff in the rubber molding that it would grow, almost like those when you're a kid and you pour you put the little steak in the water and it expands or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you could use different chemicals to grow these things. So you cast the mold, but the mold would grow, and then you'd pull the thing out of the original mold, and you would recast it with new resin or new rubber or something, and then you would recast that new mold, and it would be bigger and it would be the LJN size. And so I just learned all this stuff just over the course of the pandemic, just keeping myself busy. It was the LJNs and it was the snake pit that kept me busy during the pandemic. And to this day, that's also, you're asking me some of my favorite things about pro wrestling. To this day, I'll get to a wrestling show and I'll have people come over to me and be like, man, that snake pit really kind of kept me going. Having you or Dr. Tom or Gangrel come on and talk about wrestling, do Q&A, match breakdowns. Like, they're like, man, we look forward to you, like, every day popping on there about noon. Like, I would have like a thank you coach moment at just about every indie show that I go to, like guys that I've never met, and they're coming over saying, hey, thanks coach for doing that. And that's a really, really flattering, really, really super cool deal. And so that and the LJN just what kept me sane. Because again, I can imagine, like, I don't have a mansion or anything, but I got a nice big home. I got a lot of stuff to play with. I got chickens, and I got my tortoise. I got a tortoise that's about the size of a lawnmower, you know, and I got dogs and cats, and I got my kid, I got my wife, and I got a motorcycle. I got all sorts of fun stuff. And even I was crawling the walls during the pandemic when we're all stuck in our.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what like some single dude or single girl, you know, in some little shoebox apartment by themselves was doing. They'd have been crawling the walls way worse than I was. So I just kind of thought, man, I'm such a dinosaur. I didn't know at the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't know what a Facebook Live was. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I got with Dr. Tom and Gangrel and Al Snow and all these guys, and they didn't know what it was either because they're older than I am. So we all thought, you know what, let's put something together where, yes, we can obviously teach kids good stuff and give them some proper knowledge, but in the situation that planet Earth is in right now, then maybe it just might be a distractor, you know, something that's going to take away from them crawling the walls. So it is, as wrestling psychology useful as the snake pit is and was and is, that it was really more of a distracting tool just to take your mind off of the horse shit for 2 seconds. That, and having guys come over to the coach, man, that really helped me out, that kept me sane, blah, blah, blah. That is just the coolest that I've got ever. That might even trump the Steamboat Edge stuff.
Awesome, man. I think, honestly, I love it. I'm curious, where can the fans buy it? Where can do they DM you if they want to purchase one of your custom-made LJNs? Do they DM
Yeah,
you?
just hit me up on my Facebook or my Twitter or my Instagram. It's all the same thing. It's all Sinn Bodhi, SINNBODHI. And just tell me what you want. And weirdly, like usually, so like those pictures that you posted, so I'll post something like that and I'll sell them. And if I do sell them, then I'll make another one for myself or whatever. And whatever.
Oh, I love it, man.
But more time than not, what I'll do is I'll post one of those, and then I'll get 10 indie dudes saying like, "Hey, could you make me? Could you make one of me?"
That's yep.
Or I'll get like, you know what I get a lot of is I'll get a lot of like wives messaging me or girlfriends saying, "Hey, could you make one of my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whoever as a surprise, like as a present or something?" I'll say, "Sure, of course." I think that's a pretty cool present, you know, getting your own action figure. So, you know, I post a Dusty Rhodes or a Gorilla Monsoon or a Road Warriors or a whoever, Jerry Lawler, whoever it is. People go, "Oh, that's neat." And whether they want to buy it or not, more times than not, they want to buy one of themselves, you know. And that's kind of cool.
That's awesome, man. I love it, man. That takes a lot of hard dedication because, you know, LJN is, for me, the way how just a figure itself, it's not easy to, you know, action figure to make, you know, but I commend you for that. Taking the time and learning the knowledge.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And so when I was a kid, a little itty bitty kid, I remember my grandfather, he would make these model airplanes in his little workshop. And I remember just sitting there looking at him, and it was literally like watching paint dry. I'm like, this is boring as fuck. Oh, I can't stand this. And I didn't get it. Years and years and years later, it took till the pandemic for me to be doing that. And I looked at the little toys as I'm painting them. And I realized, I'm like, holy shit, I understand what my grandfather was doing. Like, he was making these little model airplanes because in World War II, he was an airplane fighter mechanic. So he would fix the airplanes. So for him, it just brought him back to a place where he felt useful or whatever, something special to him. He was Canadian born, but he was in London, England when the Nazis were dropping bombs on London. And that's where he met my grandma. And so he was an airplane fighter, an air fighter plane mechanic. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I guess it just sort of spiritually, it just kind of zenned him out, and it just took him to a place that he could reminisce and whatever. And then I thought, fuck, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going back to being a child of the 80s. And this is super fun. Like, I really don't make new guys. I would, if somebody calls me up and said, hey, would you make me a AJ Styles or a Roman Reigns or something? Sure, of course, no problem. But when left to my own devices, I'm going to make 80s guys. Like, that's kind of my jam. I'm going to make the East-West Connection. I'm going to make the Midnight Express or Road Warriors.
I enjoyed the Road Warriors. The Road Warriors I really loved. I guarantee that probably took time and patience just to figure out, especially with the help, with the sure. Oh my God, man. I don't know how I praise you for that. Jesus.
So the ones that you posted with the Ellering figure, I did like the LOD style, like the red WWF colors and stuff. And I just made an NWA version where they're all in black and they got the bigger spikes and all this stuff. So that was pretty cool too.
Oh yeah.
Ellering saw him, like, I texted him, I'm like, what do you think? You like it? And he's like, oh dude, that was awesome. So it's always neat to know when the old school guys actually like them. Like, I'll usually send those dudes, like whoever is like still here. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And that's a really cool compliment. That's something also that's kind of one of those feather in the cap, like, feel good moments that is just as good as having some kind of title belt or something. Like, I made a Leilani Kai figure, and then Leilani Kai messaged me and said, hey, that's really cool, man. Or Missy Hyatt, or Mad Maxine, or Tugboat, or the Mulkey brothers messaged me when I made a Mulkey brothers one. They're like, dude, that's awesome. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So that's a neat. So a really, really, really cool one was, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Adrian Adonis. And so I made that East-West Connection of Adrian and Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yes.
And Adrian's widow messaged me. I didn't know how to get in touch with her. I didn't know about her. And she messaged me. Usually, like, I would send, whoever a picture or something if I had a contact with them, whatever. Just be like, hey, this is okay. I'm making this. If you want one, I'll send you one, whatever. But I didn't know her. I didn't know her name is B. Really lovely lady. She messaged me. Somebody had sent it to her and showed her a picture of her. She was like, dude, that's really awesome. Could you make me some? I want to give them some Christmas presents. So I don't want to stooge that off, but I think there's some kids and grandkids that are going to get some Adrian Adonis, Sinn Bodhi LJNs for Christmas. So, I don't have a demographic. Well, yeah, I think they're maybe up in Canada or whatever. They're going to see this podcast. So I think it's safe to stooge it off without giving them the heads up,
There you go.
But that was really cool and I kind of was having this conversation with her. It was like, just for what it's worth, darling, like, Adrian was one of my favorite guys ever. He was just
so love everything. Dudes.
Yeah. And there's guys out there that could do stuff better than some other famous guys. They just never maybe got that acclaim. Adrian was one of those guys. Like, Adrian he could move, he could work. He was such a great villain. He could make those good guys look good. It takes two to tango. He gives a shit about Luke if Darth isn't on point, and vice versa. So Adrian was one of those guys for sure. And she was like, well, I really appreciate you saying that. And she was very cool. And she was like, well, your stuff's pretty darn cool too, dude. So I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Or same with Leilani Kai. She was really cool and she was really complimentary. And I remember saying, she was like, oh, thank you. I'm really flattered. That figure looks great, blah, blah, blah. And I just said to her, hopefully one of these days I get to see you at a show or a convention or something somewhere. And she was like, well, actually, I know we haven't met face to face, but I've seen you wrestle live a few times. And I'm like, you have? And she said, yeah, in Tampa, I've seen you wrestle a few times. And she would just go to the show and just kind of kayfabe, and she just would sit there with maybe a baseball hat or something. I don't know. She would just kind of be hiding, just watch the show, and then kind of buzz off and interact with anybody. She just wanted to watch wrestling. She's like, I watched you wrestle a few times, and she's like, you, sir, are a worker. Like, you can go. Like, you're awesome. Like, I'm like, I know you are, but what am I? Like. So to have her say that, I mean, she was always that strong style. She was very Japanese oriented. She liked that style, and her to give me that compliment was a really, really cool thing.
Oh man, that's fucking awesome, man. That's awesome. But Mr. Bodhi, thank you so much, man. This is an awesome conversation, man. I thank you once again for taking the time, for being here and sharing everything, the knowledge, and all, the experiences. Man, you have a busy schedule ahead of yourself, but, following your profile, I'm seeing you do have an event coming up, I believe so, on this Friday, October 7th. And that is Blood, Sweat, and Fears 3, where you face Cesar Bononi, coming up this Friday.
Yeah, I am. I'm taking on, I'm here in Orlando right now, and I am taking on Cesar Bononi, AEW, former WWE.
Great guy, by the way.
He's a big dude. I got to help coach him just a tiny little bit. One of the last times I was at the PC before the pandemic. He's a big cat, so he's learned some stuff since I got to see him, and I think he'll be a fun adventure. I mean, he's as big as a mountain, so that'll be pretty cool to deal with. So I'm looking forward to it. And I was supposed to wrestle Dalton Castle.
Yeah.
And I was kind of giggling with my wife, saying, like, I usually won't pop in the ring. I'm not going to giggle at somebody, but I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to get through a match without fucking laughing, wrestling the Hardy Peacock. But I guess Tony Khan pulled him to defend his ROH six-person title. So it wasn't the cards for myself and Dalton Castle this Friday, but so now me and Cesar Bononi will get down, and I'd like to think we will give the floor of Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling a roar, and again, I'd like to think we're going to smiles on faces and give them their tickets worth. And that's cool. And then very, very soon, let's bring it back to PCW Ultra, because I cannot wait to be in that Ultra Vault. That's got my name written over it. And I would like to say this in closing, that they're gonna randomly select us to be in the ring, but I want to forfeit that. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling everybody here right now. I'll forfeit that. I want to be the first person, not just the first two. Like, I want to be the first man in that ring. I think a giant cage stuffed with weapons and in beautiful California, well, that just speaks to me, and I need to be in there first. And if that does not give me the advantage, I don't give a shit. I'm going to have fun and tear into all three of those dudes again. Hammerstone, Shaft, Bachelor number 4, the Mystery Man, whoever he is, don't give a shit. They're all going to go under my knife, and that's going to be that. And I cannot wait to be in that role.
That is right. You heard it right, ladies and gentlemen. For all your SoCal fans, pro wrestling fans out there, October 21st, PCW Ultra, set in stone. You do not want to miss this main event, of course. We'll be looking at the future PCW Ultra Heavyweight Champion, Sinn Bodhi, as he will be entering that Fatal 4, the vault match. And then, oh, man, it's going to be nothing but anarchy and carnage in there. I tell you that. Whoever the mystery person is, good luck, because you have Sinn Bodhi in there. Oh, yeah. You want to talk about Wardo or weird? It's going to get weird in that cage. I'll tell you that. And he will take over. And I can see that happening for sure. So I'm saying it right now. Future PCW Ultra Heavyweight Champion, Sinn Bodhi, coming to you October 21st. Be there, buy your tickets. Right down below the description to buy them as you purchase your tickets now. Purchase them now to come see Sinn Bodhi, Hammerstone, Shaft, and the main event and the mystery, and much more, of course, in that card. And once again, Mr. Bodhi, let the people know where can they find you on all social media platforms? Give the people what they want. Where can they find Sinn Bodhi on the social media platforms?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Sinn Bodhi, SINNBODHI. Sinn with two N's, Bodhi like the tree. And I will tell you all, let us do the dangerous stuff between the ropes and the turnbuckles. You all on planet Earth, be safe, be smart, and be kind.
Absolutely. And if you want to be actually, of course, get into the business of professional wrestling, check out Future Stars Wrestling. Of course, the website will be also in the description. And of course, you have the head honcho here, Mr. Sinn Bodhi, will give you that guidance and wisdom in learning in the business of professional wrestling. So make sure, he'll take you to down to that road, to that golden road in the world of professional wrestling. So make sure and follow here our hermano, our brother Sinn Bodhi, all over social media platforms. And once again, I appreciate you, man. I had an incredible time. Awesome conversations, man. I can't wait to see you in person. I will be there, of course, on the 21st. So can't wait to see you, and we'll talk some more. We'll see you, and then
yes, sir.
Hopefully we'll see you. Hopefully, have you back on with the gold. That's what we're. That's right.
I would love it. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. And please do not forget, of course, to purchase tickets now for PCW Ultra. And also, people out there in the state of Nevada, if you want to be a part of professional wrestling, head up Future Stars of Wrestling, and he'll hit up Mr. Sinn Bodhi, and he'll take you down towards that road of being in a business and make you the best that you can be. So once again, it's the host Stevie's One IBC. I think you guys know. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.